Hello there. It's Sunday, 17th of November, about 1:17 in the afternoon. And here we are for another rambling writing video. First, again, a little background. Spent most of my time writing the Fast Fading Light, trying to get caught back up on that. I'm almost caught back up, and then I'll be able to get um, then I'm going to be moving on to the Fast Fading Light. Not the Fast Fading Light. My Soul to Keep, because I do want to get that one finished. It's 2/3 to 3/4 of the way done, and the end is in sight, and I want to get there. So um, it's kind of a stressful week this week. So I didn't get as much written as I did. I still managed to get something done. But slow progress is better than no progress. And I suppose if I had to give any piece of advice right at this moment, don't let anybody ever tell you that your slow progress is not good. As long as you're moving forward, you're good. Everybody works at their own pace after all. Anyway, moving on. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to talk about this week, so I thought, why don't we talk a bit about um, naming characters and titling stories. And excuse me for one moment. Be right back. Sorry about that. Forgot my lovely beverage. Anyway, I was thinking of talking about how I name my characters and how I title um, my stories, because that's an important part of the story. You want character names that are going to be remembered and titles that are going to stand out. So, starting with the characters, a lot of writers will find names or come up with names for their characters that in some way symbolize the character's behavior, traits, profession, even. And some will look for ethnically correct names, which is good. I'll do that to some extent also. But what I do for the most part when it comes to character titles, I'm just looking for a name that's going to stand out in people's minds. Because usually when I'm starting a story, I don't know the character 100% yet. I've got a name, I've got some general traits, but I don't really know the character too well. So I can't really grab a name that's going to fit the character's personality because I don't know it yet. My way of writing is I'll get to know the characters as I go along. So what I'll do is I'll come up with a name that sounds good. I'm looking for names that are distinctive, that'll stand out in people's minds when they think of a story. Oh, this character is going to come to mind. So we get a lot of out of the ordinary names. For example, the Upon a Far Distant Shore. My main character, even though she is ethnically Chinese, she was born here in the U.S., but her parents immigrated from China. Her first name is Artemis Xian. And I did that because that was a name that popped into my head. First, I got the name Artemis. Then I don't know where Xian came from, but it sounded good together, and so that's how it ended up. Then I realized, okay, Xian is a Chinese surname, so that's where her backstory came from. Another name that stands out is in The Fast Fading Light. One of my main characters' names is Andromeda Reyes. She's actually the main character of the three mains. Excuse, excuse me. Thank you. Okay. Andromeda Reyes. The name popped into my head years ago, and I kept trying to find a story to fit the character in. I always had the name Andromeda Reyes. I always knew it was a woman, but I didn't know anything else about her. So then, when I was creating The Fast Fading Light, she became an enhanced human, living in the mid 23rd century. Excuse me. And that's when I came up with her backstory of being born in confed and defecting and all that. But we'll get into that when I'm farther along in The Fast Fading Light and are ready to discuss plot details. We'll get into that later. And sometimes we'll have a name that's completely out of left field. I have a character named Antandra Pandora, Antandra Pandora. And Antandra is very interesting because, firstly, she is the great-grandmother of Brianna Pandora from Brianna and the Three. And it's one of the rare instances where I actually have a name that has some kind of symbolism. In her story, she has to retrieve what's known as the Ark of Eternity. It's essentially it's the Ark of the Covenant without the mysticism. It's essentially supposedly a box containing the new commandments, the original 10 commandments and the new commandments that are in effect at that time. And I figured Pandora's box, and that's where that came from. A lot of that's kind of dropping out of this story. I do have to get back to Antandra's story. It's a very long story, but I have to rework the plot line because originally it had time travel, and there's not time travel in my not supposed to be time travel in my fictional universe anymore. So I'll have to find a way around that. But again, that with all three of these names, Artemis Shion, Andromeda Reyes, Antandra Pandora, they're names that will stand out in a person's in the reader's mind because they're not ordinary names. What I will also do is I will take what's normally used as a last name and use it as a first name. Hence, On a Cold Wind, the character of Murphy Greenfield. Murphy is generally used as a last name, but I gave it to him as first name. He's Australian. What do you want? Anyway, sorry, it didn't. Just bad joke. Anyway, so yeah, and then another naming practice that I'll do is I'll look for alternate spellings or variations of names. Also from On a Cold Wind, Carlin Adrastia. Carlin, Caralynn, is a variation of a variation. The name Carolyn has a variation, Carolyn, and I just substituted some vowels and added an N, Caralynn. So, and everybody calls her Carly. Actually, she was Carly first, and then Carolyn came from there. And Adrastia is a mythological name, and if I'm remembering correctly, hang on, I'll look this up because it was so long ago that I created Carly that I don't remember where her last name came from. I know it's a mythological name, and I believe it's from I believe Adrastia may have been one of the nymphs that guarded infant Zeus, I think. Hang on. Adrastia. Let's see here. In Greek mythology, yeah, Adrastia was actually a nymph who was charged by Rhea to protect Zeus, hiding it and hide him from his father Kronos. So again, the name really doesn't have any real significance to Carly's character, except she's an EarthGov security agent, so a little bit maybe of a protector. It sounded good. Again, that's where my names go. I want a name that's going to stand out in somebody's mind. And a lot of times it's just whimsy. In my EGS stories, I have a pair of identical twin sisters, Harmony and Melody Moore. And I have a old running joke that I'll tell sometimes. If I ever had kids, and if I had identical twin sisters, I would name them Harmony and Melody. And that's where that came from. In fact, a little character note here, to say Harmony and Melody are identical twin sisters is a bit of a misnomer. They are literally one person split in half. And when I get into their story, which is called In Thine Own Image, hopefully I'll be getting back to that soon. Too many stories, not enough hours in the day. Of course, there's that whole 40-hour-a-week work thing, bills and all that, but whatever. So yeah, that's where it is. And I try not to repeat names. You're not going to find two Daves. You're not going to find two Dianes. You're not going to find two of even last names, with one exception. And this was an accident, and I didn't know I had done this, but then I figured out a way to get around it. In Raven, one of the main characters, one of the two main characters, is named David Troy, Special Agent David Troy. Okay. Him and his partner Maureen have been around for a while. They actually do appear in the sequel to On a Cold Wind, which is called Dissembler, adding to the list of things I really have to get back to. And that's, so I created him and he existed, and wasn't going to change his name no matter what. Then when I was starting up My Soul to Keep, the main character's name was first Jessica, and then I changed it to Helena Troy. Same last name. And it didn't even occur to me until years later. It's like, oh, well, let's see. By that time, I like I said, David has been around for a while. I'm not changing his last name. And I just liked the sound of Helena Troy. It sounded good together. And then I started thinking, well, can I come up with a reason they have the same last name? And then, spoiler, David, during Raven, mentions a story his grandmother told him, that back in the 20th century, back in the 21st century, a member of their family disappeared. A nun by the name of Helena Troy. Yeah, it's the same person, clone of the same person, actually. It's a long story. Again, I'll get into the plot line of My Soul to Keep when I get farther along in it, and can talk a little bit more about the plot line. So yeah, so with characters, like I said, I'm looking for names that'll stand out, names that are distinctive, names that might not necessarily roll off the tongue, but you will remember them. Which then brings us to the other half of the topic, titles. My own feeling about a title is, unless especially if you're independent, if you're an independent author, you name your story, novella, novel, whatever you want. If you're going through traditional publishing, titling is going to be out of your hands, because even if you come up with the greatest title, it might not be something, maybe the editor will come up with something else, and something that they feel might be a bit more marketable. So that you're out of your hands. This is more for independent authors, which I am proudly one of. Again, I'm coming up with titles that I think fit the stories, and they'll be whatever length. Let's look at the titles of the various books. There's With Eyes Open, which is named after the first story, and the first story involves the main character making this incredible revelation about the world around her, so that fits. The second one is Campfire Stories, and that was more for trying to evoke the feel of sitting around a campfire at night, swapping stories, if you will. But then you also have longer titles like Upon a Far Distant Shore. Excuse me. So it's a little bit longer, maybe a little unwieldy, but it does fit with Artemis waking up in this town, not knowing how she got there, not even knowing where she is on what turns out to be a very distant shore. And then there are titles that I just feel I got a little playful with, like Brianna and the Three. Brianna and the Three was, it strikes me as something kind of old-fashioned, almost fairy tale-ish kind of title, like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And again, like I said, I'm looking for a title that's going to stand out in people's minds. And I also have the last two published books were single word titles: Raven, Stranger. And the next one to be published is going to be a single word title also, Wanderer. Again, all three of them are important to the story. Raven is the primary bad guy in that story. Stranger, our main character, probationary agent Denise Bell, is a stranger to this camp of terrorists that she has to infiltrate and stop. Wanderer, reaching ahead, is the call sign of Special Agent Alexander Sinclair, a courier with Division 5. So those titles were all significant to the characters. So you can go that way with the title and have something that's important to the character, something that evokes the plot. With Eyes Open, A Bright Symmetry, which the story begins and ends at just about the same spot. Ray, for example, another one with the single title. Ray is the name of one of the main characters, and the secret that she has kind of suggests some things that go on in that story. And then there is titles like The Fault Lies Not. You can always count on Shakespeare to give you good titles. Shakespeare, The Fault Lies Not, Brave New World, as Huxley used. So you want a title that's going to attract attention and... Excuse me, I'm just getting a notification on my phone here. Never mind. who is a title that's going to catch the eye of the reader, evoke their interest, and pull them into the story. And believe me, titles change. Whatever, I always give the first draft a title, but it might change. Some titles like Wanderer haven't changed in all the years, and believe me, Wanderer has been finished for a long time. Before, of course, I had to plug a plot hole, but that's an entirely different story. That you want a title that's going to evoke interest in the story, grab the reader's attention, pull them in, and hopefully lead them to a very good story. So that's about it for now. We've gone about a little over 21 minutes. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming back every week. Looks like we're up to 16 subscribers. Thank you, every one of you. Hope I'm not boring you too much. Again, links for all the books are down below. If you do buy a book, please leave a review, good, bad, or indifferent. It all helps. Hit the subscribe button. I forget what side it's going to be on. The subscribe button and notification bell. I always try and do a video, at least a video a week, generally on Sundays. Also, my social media will be down. My social media links down below: Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and I think Pinterest is down there also. Thanks. And remember, we are each of us the heroes of our own stories and the villains of someone else's. See you next week, guys. Bye.